I see a Budweiser. Go ahead and hold it up.
Yes.
That was the biggest clue.
Yes, right
Doing
there.
it for Dale.
Man, it's so many gimmicks, right? I feel like they're making it a lot more complicated than it needs to be. I mean, a lot of people, you get polarizing opinions on DRS.
I know you guys know exactly what I'm talking about here, but sometimes the effort, it's all about the boys. You know, like, hey, you know, life sucks sometimes, and
yes,
the boys.
iRacing kind of always has a tendency to kind of buff
yes
the new cars just a little bit. I'm not going to go on record saying it's because they want people to spend money on their platform and buy all the new content.
Confirmed.
But
yes.
but
We are live for the first time on Slow Motion Broadcasting with the FF Weekend Warriors. We're at Sebring this weekend. It's going to be a blast. I saw a little bit of rain here in the practice session, but we'll get to that here in 1 second. My name is Adam Thompson. I'm joined in the booth by Randall McGrew with a special guest this weekend until we can get our footing underneath us here by the name of Bobby West. Sounds like he's been a long-time racer in the league, as well as a bit of an admin. So, Bobby, welcome in, and thanks for helping us out tonight.
Thanks. Yeah, new era. So, yeah, hopefully we can get you all quickly up to speed.
I hope we can. Randall, tonight we're at Sebring. I would assume you enjoy racing that track, and I know you're big in the Mustangs, but have you run a Formula Ford around here?
I have not had the opportunity to run a Formula Ford yet at all, and Adam, I think you need to check your watch, buddy. It's 1:45 p.m. on the East Coast, not nighttime.
Well,
so good afternoon, everybody.
Well, it's in England, it's getting it to be nighttime, okay? And in Nevada, it's still morning time. So just leave me alone, Randall, and let's get to the racing, okay? We see we got some open qualifying here, Randall. We're going to try to find someone Try to go on board with them. Maybe we can go on board here with Antonio. Maybe you can walk us around a lap here.
Yeah, this is a pretty tricky little course. This is a club layout for Sebring, not the standard layout. We see they're approaching the hairpin here. It's been a while since I drove this layout. This is towards the end of the lap. Normally this would be right after the end of the first sector as he gets a big bunch of oversteer there. The track's still wet. Looks like the rain has stopped, but they're still dealing with some slickness coming around these bends. He's going to hug the left and start his lap. The start-finish line is shortly after this bend. It's not really painted very well onto the circuit. Going to stick to the left. Big braking zone, going to be a big overtaking spot for turn 1 in there. Normally tower turn, if you're familiar with the entire layout of Sebring. Come through some easily flat left-handers. Sorry, this is tower turn now that he's going through. Gonna get a lot of that curb, feeling very brave, trying to feel out probably to see how wet it still is and how much grip there is there. Now we go to the cut through for the club layout and cut through back into sector 1 of the full layout to come through some turns that are pretty flat out until this bit. Probably just going to be feathering the throttle, sticking to the left as the track sweeps to the right, get back over to the left where we picked him up originally as he comes into the big hairpin that's going to be near the end of the lap for the club layout. Big overtaking opportunity here. Probably going to see a lot of 2, maybe even 3 wide action coming through this corner. Looks like the normal racing line is starting to get pretty grippy as he's not really having to take the karting line too much to avoid the built-in rubber. Track drying out, so we should have a relatively dry race, but can expect some slick spots in some places where the cars aren't running that much. But that's a pretty clean lap. We see he had some issues with some oversteer there, and he's really filling out the curves. You can see the trailing vapor coming off, not vapor, the water spray coming off the tires. They're still dealing with some of this wetness, but it seems like there's a lot of grip out there.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens here. You know, this is obviously going to be a longer-ish race, about 40 minutes if I'm not mistaken. Probably is going to dry out. And do you think that we will see a transition from wet to dry tires? Or do you think it's just going to stay? Is somebody brave enough to go on to dry tire?
So the Formula Ford actually is a combined tyre. So when they ran the Sebring layout last season in torrential rain, they struggled a lot. So this car can't cope very well with the heavy rain. So hopefully it stays dry later on into the race.
Well,
and get some good racing going. Otherwise, we could see quite a mess.
I was going to say, Bobby, so for someone like you who is a league admin and running these leagues, you want to see not that much carnage. But for me, as someone who is the broadcasting this race, I don't mind a little bit of carnage. But speaking of carnage here, we're about to get going. We got about a minute left. We obviously don't know what's really going on in this league right now. But, Bobby, if you were to give, judging by the qualifying positions right now, give me your S1, S2, and Masters predictions here before we get into the race.
Well, I see Everstreet's just gone to the top. She is probably one of the favourites to win this here. If it's wet, I don't know if I can see him on the list. But Ditchburn is quite quick in the wet if it does get wetter. Otherwise, Jason Green for Spec 1 is another person to keep an eye on.
Okay.
Marnie and Reyes for the Masters, and Foy for the Spec 2. The other people to watch for today.
Very good, very good. Randall, do you know any of these drivers in this league?
I'm looking through the timing screen and I don't see any names that I recognize. There were a few on the roster, but it doesn't look like any of them have showed up today. I've been watching the lap times come down. Megan has consistently been pretty quick. There was a couple times that Antonio Jeanette was able to get up there in front of her, but the lap times keep coming down. When we first started coming on the air, there wasn't many below the 112 mark, and now we're seeing Megan is in the 110s, and we're seeing a lot of drivers in the 111s.
Yeah, and here we go. Qualifying is over now. We will see a grid here in just one moment whenever it decides that it wants to switch out, and we might have one now. Oh, no, it's letting people finish their laps here. So we still have a couple going right now. Looks like, oh my goodness, I'm not going to be able to pronounce your final name, Wilson.
Roscoe. I think Wilson Brozowsko.
But yes, he's
into the top.
Yeah, up there in P2, doing a great job here. Still waiting on a couple drivers to finish their laps, and we will go ahead and get you guys the grid for today's race. Club circuit. I'm not so familiar with that one, Randall. It's definitely a much tinier circuit than the full layout of Sebring. Tires going to be an issue here?
I don't think tires will be much of an issue over 40 minutes with this car. These cars aren't very harsh on their tires. The layout here isn't too terribly bad on tires either. I think we'll just see the fuel stop. They only have enough fuel for about 30 minutes of running, so we'll have a nice wide pit window for lots of strategies, but I do not think we will see any tire issues. We might see somebody overheat if it does really dry out, and that could decide a position, but overall, no real issues with tires.
Awesome. We've got Jason Grider here still on his lap, and after that, we should be able to get in here. People still running here in open qualifying. We've got the 044 as well still out on track here, but here we go. Looks like we might actually be able to get a grid here going for you. So, with that being said, maybe. There we go. We have... These are the practice results. Here's the grid. We're getting there, guys. I promise. Megan Overstreet there for James Berry in second. Wilson... Who was that again, Bobby? How'd you pronounce that name?
I'm going for Brzezinski.
Okay, fair enough. We've got Jorg Mani in fourth place. First in the Masters. Got a Masters guy. Got an old guy up there in fourth place doing pretty good. Jorg with Michael McDonald there in fifth. Jesus in sixth. Adam seventh. Antonio in eighth. Peter True in ninth with David Foy in 10th position. And then once I can figure out how to actually going the rest of this build in, we're going to hang out and we're going to look at these top 10 so I can remember how to do this. Give us one second.
I'll take over from here. I got it on the timing screen. We have in P11, Jason Green. P12, Jorge Gonzaga. P13, JVC Istvan. P14, Bill Walker. P15, Kevin Adrian. P16, Benjamin Harris. P17, Joshua Wilkie. P18, we have Jim Brewster. P19, Brad Cathcart. P20, Jimmy Litzbaca. P21, Rain Otani. P22, Russell Telker. P23, Jeff Jacobson. P24, Gary Wolbolt. P25, Jason Grider. And I'm not sure if Andrew Love in P26 is going to take it to the grid or not.
Well, we are about to find out. Still waiting on people to grid up here, but we are getting pretty close, it looks like. Got about 26 angry Formula Fords driving around the club circuit here at Sebring. Going to be a good one here. Coming to you again, Bobby, obviously with your experience in this league. How is lap one around here?
Lap one's going to be on cold tires, so it's going to be a bit sketchy, trying to make sure you survive. We try and give like some warnings to everybody, just reminders on the grid, just to be alert. So hopefully everyone gets through the first corner cleanly, and then we can get some good race thereafter. Absolutely,
we're looking forward to it here. About to get going green here, Randall. I'm going to put you on the call as I try to keep up with what's going on back here.
Okay, great. We see them taking the formation lap here. The rolling starts in this league. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens with that inside line. They have the preferred line coming into the first corner, but it's also going to be the slicker line. See what happens here as the green flag is out. They're underway. It's like Overstreet gets the good start there, takes the inside line, and no real issues. And I'm not seeing a lot of tire sprays, so the track looking pretty dry right now. Right now, the pack is looking pretty well behaved. We have them too wide still. There's plenty of space for these narrow cars to drive on this really wide racetrack. But they're seeming to sort it out and get into the single file line, especially there through the top 10. First cars we see too wide are 10th and 11th. Back here to Megan Overstreet. She's leading the way. Coming through these S's can be pretty tricky on cold tires. It looks like everybody's got it sorted out. Everybody's getting into single file line. We see some too wide action back there towards the back of the pack. They're still trying to get things worked out. But right now, it looks like the front of the pack very well ordered. We might see some overtakes here coming into the hairpin in the first lap.
Whoa, speaking of, look at that, Randall. You just had to say something there, didn't you? James Berry up into first place. Megan is going to drop all the way down to third. Looks like she just outbraked herself a little bit. Nothing really going on, though. Still plenty of time. Absolutely plenty of time. Still 39 minutes left in this race. But, yeah, James Berry took advantage there of the very early overtake.
And it's really good that he didn't follow her off. It's so easy to be fixated on that car in front of you. When they make a mistake, you end up making the same mistake. Not for James Berry, though. He ended up taking the lead. He's got a little bit of a gap here. Like you said, plenty of time. Megan's very fast. I wouldn't count her out of this race yet. As we see her running wide, she is really pushing.
She is. And I don't know. I know there isn't much dirty air in these cars, but I would assume there is just a little bit. And how much, while we're going to come back to you, Bobby, how much do the cold tires really affect these cars? Is it definitely noticeable, and how long is it going to take to get them back?
No, by the second lap, by the end of the second lap, you'll be up to speed, really. But the cars do keep getting quicker and quicker. The tires get better and better in this car, unlike the Spec Racer 4 we'll see later. But yeah, the key, I think, now at this stage, and probably until the pit stops start, will be staying within the second of the car ahead, maintaining that draft, because if someone breaks the gap, they're going to go away.
Well, let's talk about pit stops here, while everybody's being pretty nice to each other right now. So let's talk about the pit stops. Are you going to want to take tires here, Bobby? And if you do, are all four free, or are you just going to go for a splash and dash?
It's definitely going to be splash and dash. Just trying to minimize the amount you want to take. Jason Green is one person to keep an eye on. He may be sitting in 12th at the moment, but he's very wily with saving fuel. He'll put himself in a key position, so he might come to the forefront later in the race. Keep an eye on how he progresses.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it's definitely about saving fuel at this stage.
We've got the Texan sitting right here, right now in 12th position overall. I will get you guys the actual points up, or the leaders of each class here in 1 second. And Ragos, yes, JVC's car. I can show you his car. Thank you for reminding me. I did not have trading paints turned on, so it's going to take a minute. All these cars are going to go white, and then we will see the actual paint jobs for all these drivers. So thank you so much for reminding me about that, Ragos. But yeah, Jason Green back here in 12th place. Looks like Megan Overstreet has overtaken Bruce Orozco back up into second place, but look at James Berry. He is way up there.
Yeah, right now she needs to get her head down, take her eyes off the mirrors, and just focus on tracking down James Berry. It already looks like the gap is starting to come down, so she's got some speed. One thing I have noticed is in the slower sections of the track, around the middle through the S's, I've seen some splashes of water come up near the curb, so we might need to keep an eye on that section of the track. If we see some too wide action, somebody gets on those curbs too much. Ooh, little contact there. Jörg Manny takes a little shot to the back, doesn't have any issues there, and continues on. It's like Bruce Orozco is falling down the order now, back to fourth after getting overtaken by Overstreet. It's like Manny maybe had a bit of a opportunistic move to take that spot away from him.
It's really easy to do into that tight cut-through corner as well, because there's no brake markers going into there. Really easy to miss your braking, run into the car in front of you.
Yeah, we've got some battles going on here. Again, here we go. I mean, this is some very good racing, very clean so far. Jörg Manny way up there. That is not Jörg Manny. That's Rodriguez and Bruce Orozco. Bruce Orozco about to lose maybe one, maybe two positions here. He's on the outside of the track at the moment. We'll see what he can do. It's gonna, man, this is intense here. But before I go back to you, Randall, Jörg Manny with the fastest lap by, not anymore, just kidding. Now it's Megan Overstreet. You can see these times really starting to come down.
And once she got a little bit of breathing room, she was able to put the hammer down and focus on making quick lap times. She's going to be on quality pace here until she catches James. I think Wilson here maybe had a little bit of overheating situation there with his tires while trying to defend, and he kept having to defend because every time he got past, he was immediately under threat from another driver. So now he's got a little bit of a gap. We should see him settle down, bring those tires back into a good working temperature range, and maybe close that gap up to Manny.
So what you see here now on the top of the screen is S1 Masters and S2. So the S1 guys, we're going to call them the fast boys. Now, I don't know if they're clearly, and I didn't mean boys, I'm sorry, fast drivers, with, of course, Megan as being one of the fasters in the S1 category, which I believe is 3,000 and up in the I rating, if I'm correct me if I'm wrong.
Correct.
And then we've got the S2s, which are obviously 3,000 below, and the Masters. The old guys, but not the slow guys. Old and fast, we've got Jorg Monty in the Master Series sitting right now in 3rd place and actually starting to track down Megan Overstreet and the leader, James Barry. So just because they're old doesn't mean they're slow, Randall.
That's right. And Jorg might be playing a conservative game here now that he's caught up to Megan. Probably going to be saving some fuel, try to make that pit stop as short as possible, maybe overtake her in the pits. If they work together, they might be able to catch Barry a little bit easier, but Megan not able to close down that gap as quickly as I thought she would be able to.
We've got Antonio Reese, who was very quick in the qualifying, sitting back here in 6th place right now. He's got a battle of his own. There's about 4 or 5 cars stuck in this gaggle. And then there is a bit of a break here at the 260 car. We start to see it's Russell Telker. And start to see a bit of, as Kevin Adrian has just gone off the track. We will get a replay of that shortly. But right now, if you are Russell Telker, kind of just in no man's land, nobody in front of you, nobody behind you. That's where I'd want to be, Randall.
Well, this is what we call in the official series a safety bubble. He's not going to have much pressure, be able to maybe click off some quick lap times here without having anybody to distract him, but he is kind of by himself, so without some good pit strategy and some fuel saving, it's kind of stranded.
Looks like Jorg Money is now taking 2nd place. Oh, what has happened to Megan Overstreet? She's fallen way back, all the way back now to 11th place overall. We will have to see what happened here. See if we can get on board here of what happened to Megan.
We see her coming down the straightaway. She's got James Barry there in her sights. Don't see anything in her mirrors. It looks like just a little bit too much trail braking there. Caused the back end to step out on her. Too much grip on the front. She able to get it back going again without any incident. No damage on the car, so now she's in salvage mode to try to make up as many spots as she can.
See if there was a bit of a tap here from Jorg. It looks like you're right. She just absolutely lost it on her own. That's crazy how fast the back end of that car just snapped out on her.
If you carry a little too much brake in these cars, it's really easy to whip them around like that.
Well, here we go again. Now she's back up into 10th place already, and she's doing everything she can. Actually, still sitting in 11th, looking like trying to take 10th, but now she has got her work cut out for her with about, I can't do math, with about 30-ish minutes to go, we'll say that.
So she's got a couple cars in front of her, then a bit of a gap. She may be able to close some of that gap with pit strategy. That spin wouldn't have helped her fuel strategy too much, but she could save a little bit, have a good pit stop. Now we're going to see if Jorg can represent the senior circuit well and catch up to James Barry.
We will have to see what happens there. And for some reason, guys, I'm getting live timing only for the top 26 cars in this race right now. I'm trying to go back to see what's going on behind everybody else, but it's, maybe we do only have 26. We already do have some lap traffic. That's what the issue is. Continue.
We see James Barry and Jorg Monty with a commanding lead. We see one car diving into the pits already, going to take an early pit stop, maybe try to get some clean air. Antonio Reese-Jeanette coming in, maybe possibly a little bit of damage. We saw there was some contact back in the field. I don't think that Antonio was involved. Maybe just taking the early pit stop to get it out of the way while the tires are still good.
Most of the time, the best strategy is to leave the pit stop as late as possible. You get a free fast repair as well in case something happens, and you can save the fuel through the start of the race. But if you're stuck in traffic, particularly at a track like this where it's a bit more difficult to overtake, not so much drafting or slipstreaming, there's a good opportunity to come out of the group, drop back and run some clean laps, especially if you've got the pace like Reyes might.
So,
that's right. That's right. Sometimes that pit strategy, if you go off strategy, you can find yourself some clean running room. You can get rid of that pressure. Like Bobby said, if you're in traffic, you can get rid of some of that traffic. Get out there, set some quick laps while everybody else is running in a pack. But I don't know that cars this slow, every track is a slipstream track, so you might be in trouble.
Yeah, so with that being said, Regos, here is JVC. Haven't gone to him yet, but Scandinavian there in 17th position right now. looking for his paint job so you can see who to look out for. You can see him there on track, car number 214. He's highlighted in green right now if you're looking at the track map. If anybody gets lost on what's happening here, you can always look at the track map and you can see where they are in relation to everybody else on the track by car number. So, for instance, we go to Kevin Adrian here in 14th position. So there you go. But with that being said, Jorg really not gaining much more time, Randall. It looks like Barry has just decided to maybe, get off the gas or get off the brake pedal a little.
Yeah, this gap stayed pretty static, but they are pulling away from the rest of the pack pretty consistently. So I don't know if Jurg's just trying to save fuel or if he just doesn't have the pace to close down that gap. James is looking really quickly here. And now that Megan's kind of out of the picture for the race win, probably resting a little bit easier. Might be saving some fuel too.
We will go through the class leaders at the moment. Just kidding. This is going to be tough because people are going to start diving into the pits here, but we'll try it anyways. It's not even worth it now. We got people diving into the pits. Actually, a bit of an early pit stop here, like you mentioned, Bobby. Could that play to their advantage? Because the track seems to be getting drier and drier. Lap times keep coming up.
Yeah, the track dryness. I mean, it's hard to see if there is any real wet patches. Maybe that's what caught Megan out at the start. But yeah, it looks like the track's getting quicker. It's an option. It's an option. I mean, the best strategy I think would still be to try and stay and work together with the people around you. But if you just find that you are out of position, I'd be coming in there.
Yeah, absolutely. So working together. Talk about that for a minute, Randall. Around a shorter track like this, you don't really have that many slipstreaming opportunities. Now, I will be the first to say that I am not well versed in the Formula Ford. I try to stay away from open wheel cars if at all possible because I tend to find walls when I drive them in iRacing. So what is the slipstream like on these cars, and can you work together around a track like this?
The slipstream in a car like this will be 1 to 1.2 seconds. Even as small of a profile as these cars have, just the low speed lends itself to slipstreaming, even in places you wouldn't really think where it would be much of an advantage. There are a couple long straight bits here, so two cars could, in theory, work together, maybe play a little bit of leapfrog going into the hairpin to try to track down, but it's going to take precision and correct execution time and time again to really make that much of a difference. Mostly what you need to do is not challenge each other so that the person in front has plenty of opportunity to click off fast lap times.
Absolutely, and as we see Michael McConnell there, Wilson just gets around him. Looks like people are starting to get a little bit racy here. We still have quite a bit left in this race, so no, I wouldn't say I wouldn't go full bore just yet. But at what point do you see James and Jorg really starting to get away, gap the rest of these field? I mean, look at this interval between Jorg and Mr. Rodriguez, about 7 or 5 seconds. Apologies. So when do you want to try to start going, if you can, while these guys are racing back here?
I think you just keep doing what you're doing right now. You've built up 7.5 seconds gap from the leader to back to third place. You have the pace. If you try to change your rhythm, you're just going to cause troubles for yourself. So I think right now, James Barry, as long as he's not getting pressured by Jurg, is just going to keep doing what he's doing the whole time.
Yeah, absolutely. Doing exactly what he needs to do to get this win for the S1 class. Again, I want to stress this. Jorg has to be over 60 or he couldn't be in the Masters class, and he's keeping up. You know what, Randall? I'm just going to say it. It's very intriguing to me to see older guys going this fast in a simulation. You know, like, it's supposed to be meant for the younger people, right?
One would think, I think the simulation probably plays more into the hands of the older drivers with more experience. They don't have the same physical forces to tolerate that they would in a real car, and they have all the experience and patience that come with age. So I think sim racing might even lend itself to the older drivers a little bit better, and they can stay in the game and keep their skills sharp.
Absolutely, absolutely they can. So again, we will try to get through the leaders here. James Barry, leader in S1, leader overall as well. Then you've got Jorg Maney in second place, but the leader in the Masters class at the moment with Jesus Rodriguez there in third. So you've got the top Nope, you don't. I apologize. It is fourth with Wilson rounding out the leaders for all three class splits. And then back, you got to go all the way back to seventh to find the second S2 of David Foy. So right now, Randall, Wilson is doing exactly what he's got to do to take this class win.
I can speak from experience. Some of these lower categories or the lower division, having a good finish like Bruce Roscoe is doing right now, and having a few cars between you and the next car in your division is going to be huge, especially considering that Bruce Roscoe is up in fourth place. The gaps as you go down the order get smaller and smaller with regards to the points. So having a couple cars in front of you when you're in the top five, or sorry, a couple cars between you when you're in the top five is a much bigger difference than if you're buried deeper in the field. So right now, Bruce Roscoe is going to be very, very keen to keep this spot and to keep this good finish.
Absolutely. Let's go to the points, Bobby. How exactly do the points work here in the Ray Esports Formula Ford Series, and are they like that across both series, Formula Ford and SRF?
Yeah, they're the same in both. So the winner will get 100 points, and they decrease from there. But Bruce Roscoe, for example, will get the points for fourth place in his class. Foy will get the points for seventh place in his class, even though he's second on the road in the class. So we hand the points out specifically for the position you finish. So it matters that Foy is behind Overstreet and McConnell there. Those two positions will make a difference at the end of the race.
That is a great way to do things. I've never thought about doing points like that, but that seems like a very smart way. So even though these drivers are all in class, they're still racing for the same points on track, which is...
Yeah, everyone's racing against each other here.
Absolutely. That is awesome to see. And right now, we're looking here through the intervals. Looks like we've got a bit of a battle down here in 13th between Kevin Adrian and Joshua Wilkie. Not a bit of a battle. They are going at it, Randall.
They are absolutely going too wide through the S. This is a very tricky place to be racing like this, but they're making it work right now. It looks like Kevin has the advantage. Going to have the inside line coming up to the hairpin.
Oh, my goodness.
And a little bit of wheel-to-wheel contact. I'm sorry, I'm in the wrong spot of the track. That was not the hairpin. That was tower turn. Now they're on the cut-through, and it looks like Kevin has lost the advantage, but he's going to have the slipstream for the straight run up to the hairpin. Could possibly have a run here. He is right on his gearbox, so we could see an overtake, maybe see some defense, but he's definitely got the slipstream. He's got the momentum. Let's see what kind of move he makes.
Here we go. He's going to the inside here on the hairpin. It looks like he's going to have him, though, but we got a slow car in front of him. Oh, no, this is not going well.
Yeah, the little bit of contact there. The blue flag car having a little bit of issue giving way. They go three wide into the corner. It looks like Kevin comes out the better for it, but there was definitely some contact and possibly some damage to both cars.
That is a bit unfortunate there for both drivers. I don't think there's really much anybody could have done there, but we do have another battle here between Brewster and Jacobson. This mid part of the pack is just really battling it out.
I think Jacobson was the other car involved in that battle with Kevin. And right now, Brewster all over him, trying to take advantage of possibly Jacobson seeing a little bit of red. They both run wide, but just like what I talked about earlier, sometimes when the car in front of you makes a mistake, it's easy to make the same mistake. Brewster missing an opportunity there. We see Jacobson now has got the car back under control. See Wilkie has dipped into the pits, is not coming out. Maybe going to come out into some traffic here. No, he's in the clear.
Go ahead and see what happens here to Wilkie. We can stay already back out. So that was pretty quick. But anyways, while we've seen a couple incidents, Bobby, so far, how exactly does the incident reporting, how does that work in the Great Esports League?
So we try and do it as a collective community effort. So a lot of us anyway, join the Discord after the race, and we watch back through the race. Talk through any things that happened, the highs and the lows, occasionally some things need to get addressed for future, so we try and avoid that going reoccurring. But to be honest, most people respect the racing that we've got here. It's a very respectful league, and I mean that's part of the reason I've been sticking around for this league for so long.
Absolutely. No, this has been amazing racing so far. I mean, even some of the little incidents we've seen are just not that bad. I mean, it's just at some point, racing's just going to be racing. and it is amazing to see how composed these drivers are keeping it, even while racing as hard as they are. We've got a bit of battle. Looks like Adam Barney is around. We came to that one just a little late. Looks like he was trying to take an inside move there on Bill Walker. Didn't quite work out. We'll have to go. What happened there?
It looked like Walker may have pinched him a little bit there at the apex, or possibly just got on one of those still wet curbs. We're going to take a look here as they're coming down to the hairpin. Adam goes for the inside. It's a very late move. And yeah, he was just never there. Went for a door that was always going to close and paid the price for it.
Bit unfortunate there. Looks like Jacobson here with Brewster again. They are still battling it out. This is just amazing racing that we're seeing right now between these drivers. Trying to look back here through the field, see if we've got anything else close. It looks like we've got Woolbolt here that is pretty close up to Litbaka. My goodness, these names are a bit tough to pronounce. I'm sorry for my Americanness.
Litbaka is currently leading that duo. Maybe now he's got a little bit of a gap. Woolbolt had a little bit of a mistake there on the cut through. That cut through is way trickier than it looks. It's easy to get caught out. Now he's back in the slipstream. Maybe going to close this gap a bit, but I don't think he's in any position to make a move this lap.
Not yet. And look at this. We're already a bit more than halfway through the race. James Berry still up front, starting to get really into some pretty bad lap traffic here. We've got Jorg Miney back there, just still holding on, about 1 second back. And man, this gap here to third place is really stretching out now, about 7 seconds. Bruce Orozco here in fourth place. Megan Overstreet has driven her car back up into fifth place, doing really everything she can do, she needs to do to get the most points out of this race after the early incidents. Michael McConnell back here in sixth with David Foy in seventh, and Jason Green back in eighth place. Bill Walker in ninth with Kevin Adrian rounding out your top 10. We do still have some pit cycles here. Bobby, when is the pit window? Like, when would this actually open for the leading driver?
I would be thinking any time from now, probably closer to the end of 30 minutes. If you want to try and get the jump over the cars you're racing against, or you want to do something different to them, you'd be aiming to do it from nowish. But you kind of want to save it for as long as you can, save as much as you can. Save as much fuel, and also when it's a tight track like this, and the chance of like an incident occurring, just in case you need that fast repair.
Absolutely.
And if you're James Berry, you're really going to be keeping an eye on the traffic ahead. If you're coming up on a big group of lap traffic, you might dip into the pits to get rid of that traffic and not have to deal with it right away. But don't look now. Jorg Manny only 7/10 behind James Berry after having to deal with some of that lap traffic. Jorg came off the better for it. Even Jesus was able to close that gap a bit. Now that Jesus is dealing with some of that traffic, it's opening back up. But Jorg right there in the slipstream range of James Berry.
Absolutely. He's starting to get back up there. And while I've got just half a second here, Jordy Fike in the chat said, at 60 years old, I'm here for the, quote, old guys, unquote. So, yes, Jordy, thank you so much for tuning in and watching. Speaking of old guys that are still very fat. So back to the race here. James Berry is in. Speaking of all this lap traffic you're talking about, Randall, people dodge, dipping, ducking, and diving to try to get out of his way.
Jorg got ran wide there. It managed to keep the car on track with one of the lap cars there. Oh, no, we're going to have more issues. Jorg really not coming out well in the traffic this time. It looked like Jorg was really getting the benefits of some of this traffic. Normally, the leader has the luck through the traffic. The P2 was coming up aces most of the time until now. Now that gap stretched out to 2.5 seconds.
Take a gander here.
He's going to have trouble clearing that up.
This is Cathcart here. Just drives it in deep. Really not much else to say about that one.
Well, that blue car on the inside, I wasn't able to see who that was kind of trying to surrender the corner to Jorg. And I don't think Cathcart got the message. Had to make some evasive action to get rid of him, and then missed his brake mark completely. You see the blue car there, really slow on the inside.
That was Joshua
Cathcart.
That was Joshua Wilkie, I believe, that he was trying to, that Cathcart was trying to get by, and just absolutely, just outbroke himself there. But you know what? It is what it is. You're still about 3 seconds back. James Berry, as we have just found out, lap traffic, you never know what's going to happen with lappers. So this race is not over by any stretch of the imagination.
One of the toughest.
Sorry.
One of the toughest roles in any race is to always see more trouble there behind the leader. It looked like another lap car having some issues trying to get out of the way. I often tell drivers that are dealing with blue flag issues, it's a really tough challenge to be slower and to be passed and to not be in the way. But what I always tell people is getting out of the way often leads to being in the way. And I think we're starting to see that rear its head a few times.
Well, and the other issue is that you've got to think about is, like, for instance, you've got Jacobson, Foy, and Brewster all battling right now. And if you've got the leader or a lap car coming up on you, I mean, if you're going to become the lap car, you can't really surrender a battle if you're going too wide into some of these corners.
That's absolutely right. In iRacing, unless the league rules specify otherwise, and Bobby may correct me here, the blue flag is informational, so you don't need to get out of the way. Let the faster cars get around you. But it's tough to manage, especially in a tight section of the track. We've seen it bite a few drivers.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're correct. It is advisory, but a lot of the time it's a case of you'd probably be faster if you work with the leader coming to lap you. You know, there's opportunities there to just follow in behind them and use their toe to catch back up to the cars ahead.
See Jason Greider there off at like turn 1. I'm not sure if he's gotten roll. Yeah, he's gotten rolling again. He's still losing some time on the relative, but he had an issue.
Whoa!
It's like he's really losing it coming through the end of the lap. I don't know, maybe if he had an issue before and has some damage as he's backing the track, backing the car up onto the runoff to get back onto the track, taking his time, making sure he has a good view. At least he'll see if he has a gap before he gets back in.
Absolutely. We've got this battle still going on between Foy and Brewster, S2 versus Masters at the moment. And my goodness, this battle's been going on for what seems like the entirety of the race. Brewster has been just in nothing but just massive battles the whole time. Gets passed by Foy, but he tries to get the cutback on him. Gonna try to get it done. Doesn't look like he's gonna make it happen, but we've got another overtaking opportunity coming up.
Foy drove it in pretty deep, made sure he got the pass done, and then was able to get back to the throttle. In a bit of a faster car, that may have been a mistake. Brewster may have been able to make the cutback work, but the cars these slow, sometimes you can bomb them just a little bit more and still come out the better. Brewster not going to let him go easily, though. Right there on his gearbox is going to have maybe a chance here, looking to the inside, showing the nose, coming up to the cut through, or coming through tower turn. Now they're going to come up to the cut through. He's not challenging yet, but he's definitely keeping the pressure on.
Speaking of pressure or lack thereof, Jorg Miney has just come into the pitch, which has left James Berry absolutely wide open. So we'll see how quick Jorg is able to get this pit and get back out onto the track here.
And you see, he nails his marks and is able to come in one stop. We saw, I think it was Gonzaga earlier, overshot his marks and had to back up. That'll cost you a lot of track position in the pits, just 1 or 2 seconds to back the car back up.
He's spending
with enough experience to just get it right the first time.
He's spending quite a bit of time in the pits. These fuel fill races must not be too fast on these cars, huh?
It doesn't seem to be super quick, and I don't know. Some drivers are going to be more gamers than other ones and be able to click off that refuel when they get to their marks, and some of them will just let it fuel to the next gallon. These cars refuel in gallon increments, so you're not able to make a very precise refill without manually intervening on pit stop.
So here's the deal right now. We've got Miney back here in 5th place overall, still first even after his pit stop. We've got Berry coming in now. This is the battle that I wanted to see. We'll have to see what exactly happens here. Get to the pit lane cam here. So we're going to be able to see Miney right here on the track map, number 925. See where
and he overshoots. James Berry overshot his pit box and had to back up just a little bit, so that could close that gap back up. We'll be watching now as he comes out of the pits to see exactly where he comes out in relation to Jorg, because now he is rolling and coming towards the pit exit. There's some traffic here. He's going to come out into some lap traffic. Jorg is going to be still 4 seconds behind, so that long stop for Jorg is not going to help him out at all.
Yeah, that's impressive. He overshot the pit stop, and he was still able to get this done. Bobby, when it comes to pit stops, obviously, like you said, manually intervening, even iRacing Auto Fuel doesn't get it quite where you want to get it if you really want the quickest time through here.
No, various people try various tactics to try and manage things. Personally, I write down figures and laps to monitor how much I'm saving through the race to reduce the amount that I have to plan to take so that I can try and shorten my fuel stop as the race goes on. Nothing worse than being left with a lap of fuel at the end when 3 seconds can make all the difference there. Like looking at Marnie, his pit stop seems considerably, well, not so much. Maybe he's lost 1.5 seconds to Barry there, but he's Overstreet's caught back up on that.
I was going to mention that, actually. Looking here, she has come in. She came in on lap 22, so she is good to go to the end of the race, and she is moving. I mean, right up to the back of Ani, and I don't know if she's going to be able to get up to Mr. Barry, but it looks like a P2 is definitely in the cars here.
I expect Megan will make pretty short work of Jörg here. Don't think there's enough time for her just on pace alone to close up to James Barry. She wasn't able to close up earlier in the race, but all bets are out the window now. She is not saving any fuel, most likely, and going full tilt. Now, if James Barry has some unfortunate lap traffic, we could see that gap disappear and have a race for the win.
I mean, we're looking at the gap right now. It is coming down. Obviously, James probably dealing with some lap traffic. It was sitting at about 4 seconds. It's down to 3.2. So we'll just have to see what happens here these next few laps. Megan is still back behind Jörg. So, yeah, going to be interesting here. But who have we not talked about? Leading his class is Mr. Bruce Orozco. Absolutely doing just fine here. About 4 seconds, almost 5 seconds back to Foy. So, keeping it clean, running his own race. Sometimes when you don't get covered on the broadcast, that's a good thing.
Yeah, he had a few more cars between him and Dave Foy, but now there's only one there. He's given up a couple positions. We saw him have some issues earlier in the race, and now it looks like he's in a good position. Maybe take advantage of a situation if these two cars in front of him start racing. One of those cars, the leader there of that trio, is actually a blue flag car, so we'll see if he surrenders that position. Michael McConnell enjoying that slipstream down the straight. Oh, Bruce Orozco runs a little bit wide, able to keep it there, but we see the blue flag car stepping off to the left. Going to let these two go by.
So that is Brad Cathcart, and he was involved in an incident here. Now he's trying to let cars around, even more cars. This is not a position. I do not envy Brad's position here with about 5 minutes to go, trying to get out of the way of these leaders.
Yeah, it's one of the toughest jobs in any of these racing categories where every car is the same and you're the slower one getting overtaken. It's really hard to make that move happen collaboratively with other drivers without losing a bunch of time.
Yeah, it absolutely is. David Foy here in 9th position, second in class at the moment. Doing what he can to get up to Bruce Orozco, but he's going to need some help here with about 5 minutes to go. We still have Overstreet behind Monty. Monty is still holding his ground. Going to stay on this. See if Monty's getting a bit defensive here because the interval really has not changed to the leader, so they don't seem to be doing much battling yet.
The KG senior Jörg Monty I haven't seen him really get super defensive, but I also haven't seen Megan showing her nose or anything, so it looks like she's in a good spot right now and happy with what they're doing. Maybe going to wait till after some of this lap traffic is cleared. I do see that the leader is catching up to two cars that are running close together, Russell Telker and Jimmy Libaka. And then after that, he's going to have a bit of a gap, so he might catch those two before the end of the race. I suspect that he's going to catch them with 2 or 3 laps to go.
We will see what happens there. Things are starting to close in just a little bit. We've got Antonio Rees starting to close down the gap as well to Rodriguez. Though only about 0.3 of a second in it right there. Like Walker and Barney are going at it behind them as well. So yeah, we do have some battles still around the racetrack.
This Masters division is probably the most interesting one to watch out of all this. Reese going to try to take it to the Spec 1 driver, Rodriguez, to get that spot to close that gap of cars between he and Monty. It could be a big swing in the points, especially this far up the leaderboard.
It absolutely could be here. So, Bobby, with about 4 minutes left to go, you want to change your predictions at all, or are you happy with them? Oh my goodness, never mind. We do have lap cars all over the place. Reese is still trying to get to the back and past Rodriguez. Starting to see here, it is a bit difficult to pass.
Yeah, it is pretty tricky. Trying to get the decent braking into the hairpin, main primary overtaking spot, is for sure. Yeah, it's difficult to judge, especially also because you have these such open wheels and they stick out so far. You're always very conscious that you don't want to interlock them, and like a closed wheel car.
Yep, and that is one of the many reasons why I don't run open wheel cars. But go ahead.
See, Antonio here, he has a little bit of a gap coming into the S's, and now it's starting to close as they get towards the end. He's going to have that momentum. We could see a move to the inside here. That momentum seems to be vanishing, though. Jesus got a really good run there out of the exit of the S's and is going to maintain that lead. Not really going to have an opportunity for Antonio to show the nose here. Could be waiting for the last lap, too. Could be trying to lull him to sleep.
Well, speaking of lulling to sleep, you wonder if that's what Megan's trying to do to Jorg, because Jorg still in the lead. Not in the lead, but beating Megan. The gap hasn't changed at all.
Well, these two are tracking down James Berry very slowly. They can see him ahead. So I think Megan is probably playing the smart game here, letting Jorg lead the way and try to close that gap. And as long as he's closing down the gap, she's probably going to be happy there until we see that white flag. Then all bets are off.
So, Bobby, if you were racing this race right now, you're this close. When do you try to make the move?
Into the final hairpin on the final lap. I'd be patient, but I'm also someone who waits. some people will like go for it and try and make the break early. But yeah, I'm one of those patient people. I have never normally had the speed to pull ahead when I'm the car in front, but I would be waiting for the last corner here.
Absolutely. We do have a battle here between Green and Bruce Orozco as well. Looks like Bruce Orozco is just going to let him go. Bruce Orozco is really just trying to hold this position right now to David Foy. Very, very smart racing, Randall.
Yeah, it seems like he's fallen off the pace a little bit here in the closing stages of the race. It makes you wonder if some of the fighting that he did earlier in the race has caused him to have tires that are just that much not as good as the cars around him. Dave Foy now getting close to his gearbox and gonna be breathing those exhaust fumes, getting hungry, maybe trying to steal this win from Bruce Orozco.
Well, we missed it. We missed the overtake, guys. We'll go back to it. Megan Overstreet has gotten past Jorg Miney for second position. Now, he's got about a minute. Track down 3 seconds worth of gap between her and Barry. Don't think it's going to happen here, but let's go see exactly where that overtake was done.
I suspect there was a mistake here from Jorg. No, actually, Megan just got a good run out of the hairpin and through the final corner, set up on the inside, and was able to get the pass done cleanly. It did cost them about 3/4 to a whole second of gap to James Berry, though, getting that move done.
Shows what I know.
Well, you know what I tend to say, Bobby, even though I know you're a racer. That's why we're up here and not down there. So, yeah, that's definitely... Doesn't look like Miney's going to give this position, though. Just going to let her drive off into the sunset. He's there, and he's doing everything he can. We've got to be coming to the final lap here, looking for James Berry. We'll see if we see a white flag, which we might have already seen it. Randall?
They have eclipsed the 40-minute mark, but judging by where he is on track, I think he'll be taking the white flag at this time by. I think what happened with Megan and Miney is that Megan decided that they're not going to catch James Berry and was going to go for the move as quickly as she could. As soon as she determined they're not going to catch James, she took that spot.
Absolutely. We will be, again, looking for this white flag. So watch as we run down the start-finish straight here. We'll see if we can see a white flag or see if we see a checkered flag. I was not paying attention when I should have been, but here we go. Down the start-finish straight now. Is it going to be a checker flag? It is for James Berry. First place overall, first place in S1 with Megan Overstreet and Miney still battling here, but it looks like Miney not going to be able to get the better of Miss Overstreet. Rodriguez, then Reese, McConnell, Green. More battles going on here. David Foy back here going to be able to hold on to 9th place. Trying to track down Bruce Orozco. Wasn't able to make it happen, though. Jorge Gonzaga back here about to take the finish to round out your top 10.
A pretty clean race. We see Jorge here by himself. He had an issue in the pits, but still able to parlay a top 10 out of it. Kevin Adrian has had a couple incidents today. We saw him lose it once very early on in the race there at the hairpin, and then another incident while fighting with another driver. As the rest of the field comes trickling across the line here, some of these lap down drivers kind of in no man's land once the lap traffic is out of the way. See a bit of a battle here between Jacobson and Jacobson and True. And True got the better of that. Litvaca now coming across the line. Tanny following him. And that should be everybody.
I think it's going to be. We will go ahead and get everything up here. Get rid of that. We don't need quite yet. And the results here. Michael McConnell, first place with, that is not correct, is it?
That is the practice results.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, we'll see if we can get some race results up for us here in just a minute. Nothing coming up yet. Let's hope we can. But with that being said, Randall, you already mentioned a little bit of it. What'd you think of your first race here for the Ray Esports series broadcasted by us?
Pretty exciting racing. We got a lot of good action on track. I think we still have a couple drivers maybe waiting to trickle across the line. There was a group of cars right in front of the leader as he took the checkered flag, so they had to run an entire lap. So a minute and 10 seconds later, they would have crossed the line. We do have this race.
We've got him now. We've got him now. Just like you said, took a bit for the lap cars to come around, but James Berry first place with Megan Overstreet taking second. Jorg Mani, Masters driver, taking the win for the Masters class, third place overall with Jesus Rodriguez in fourth, Antonio Reese in fifth, Michael McConnell in sixth, Jason Green seventh. Wilson Bruce Orozco was able to hold on to that win for the S2 division with David Foy in ninth position. Jorge Gonzaga 10th, Kevin Adrian in 11th, Bill Walker 12th, Adam Barney 13th with Jim Brewster 14th, Peter True 15th, Jeff Jacobson in 16th with Jimmy Litvaca in 17th, Gary, my goodness, Woolbolt there in 18th, and Randall, I'll let you take him through the rest.
P19, we have Randall Tanny. P20, Brad Cathcart. P21 was Russell Telker, followed by Jason Greider in P22. P23, Benjamin Harris. He's just here for the SR, guys.
Yeah.
24,
absolutely.
Josh Wilkie in P25. JVC Istvan did not have the race that he wanted. That paint looking sharp, and Andrew Love didn't look like he ever took to the grid. So he comes in P26. I'm not sure if he's actually going to score points.
You know what? In Benjamin Harris's case, I don't know if he actually did get 0x, but that is the way he gets some SRs, just right around in the back. But anyways, with that being said, we do have James Berry here with us. Randall, I'll let you take the overall winner.
James Berry bringing home the win. Tell us a little bit about your race.
Yeah, that was really tough. I'm happy because that's my first win in this league. I'm quite new. This is just my third race in this league, so really happy to get the win already. And for me, qualifying was super fun with the drying track. I was just talking to Megan there. We were both having an absolute blast in qualifying, getting the times down, and she just picked me to the pole. And then in the race, well, she made it easy for me. She made that mistake on lap one. She went wide, and then it was Jörg chasing me, and I just had to be on my maximum pace because he's super fast. So it was just pushing all the way, and then at the pits, we had the back markers. They were problematic. The back markers, they were getting in my way, then getting in Jörg's way. But fortunately, after I got through those, I had a gap, and then from there, it wasn't too difficult. Just making sure I didn't make any mistakes. So yeah, it was okay.
We saw you overshot your pit box a little bit there on the pit, and then came out. You still had quite a gap, but that gap started disappearing pretty quickly once Megan caught up to you. Were you at all concerned that they were going to catch you?
Well, I was aware that I was just on 1 or 2 laps. I was making little mistakes. I was just aware that I had to focus up, get back on my good pace, and then the last few laps, I think the gap was quite consistent because I managed to drive a bit better. So I was okay in the end. It was all good.
Well, class of the field today, your first win in this series. Is there anybody you'd like to thank or shout out before we let you go?
I'll just shout out everyone involved. I mean, I'm quite new to the league, but it's really welcoming league and really well set up. I can see that. So thanks for that, and thanks for you guys as well for taking over the broadcasts. It was a strange situation. So yeah, thanks guys, and thanks everyone involved.
Well, congratulations on your win, and maybe we'll be talking to you again here soon in the coming weeks.
Hopefully so. Thank you. See you.
And that was your winner, James Barry. And Adam, we have P2, Megan Overstreet. Do you want to talk to her?
I think I can give that one a shot. Megan, you took P2 overall, but it wasn't without a bit of, well, let's say trials and tribulations.
Yep, mistakes. That's my biggest thing that I'm working on right now. I completely forgot, cold tires going into the hairpin on lap 1, I should brake a little bit sooner. So I broke what I would have normally broke whenever I had hot tires. So I almost slid off the track, and then whenever I was trying to chase down James, I was going into first gear. I can't remember the name of that corner, but the rear end just stepped out, half spun me, and I had to sit there for a little bit to let people by before rejoining, which is a safe thing to do.
It absolutely is, and you did the right thing there, Megan. You were still able to track it all the way back up from, my goodness, you fell back to, 10th place, I think, and you're able to take it back up into second. So talk us through getting back through the field after not 1, but 2 spins.
Oh, it was a hoot and a half. This is already a track that's hard to pass on with this layout, so being able to get good exits out of corners and get around people was very, very fun.
Absolutely. It looked like fun out there, Megan. And so we were just talking with James Barry. He said he's a bit new to the league. And I was talking with Bobby West a little bit earlier. Said, you're actually pretty quick around here. So do you think James is going to be able to give you a run for your money the rest of the season?
Oh, for sure. He's a real quick driver. So as long as I get to do at least 8 of the races this season, I should at least have a good battle with the top people here in the series.
Well, I'm hoping and looking forward to that. Megan, anybody you want to thank or shout out before we let you go?
Yeah, thank Stevie Ray for putting on the league, y'all for doing the broadcast. Welcome to the Weekend Warriors. SimMotion for sponsoring the series, and also everybody that's out there watching, my family, and also the folks who sponsor single races here and there. Thank y'all so much.
Absolutely. You did get a shout out, by the way, as well during the race by Mr. Christian Kabanka saying, go Megan. So I think you probably made him a bit proud tonight, Megan, but congratulations. We'll talk to you hopefully next time.
Thank you.
That was Megan Overstreet there. P2. Doesn't look like we're going to be able to get Jorg Miney in here. He never joined the waiting room, but maybe for next time, Bobby, we'll make sure to get the rest of the guys into the Discord so we can do the rest of the interviews. But until that point, it was a good one, Randall. Like Megan said, it was a lot of fun. Very short track. Great display of skill by all the drivers.
Yeah, these cars on a track combo like this, it's always going to be really interesting, and you're going to see a lot of good racing. And these shorter circuits, these club layouts, do so well with these slower cars, and we saw a lot of really good driving and racing. Some miscommunications out there, but that's going to happen. That's just racing. Overall, an exceptional race.
It absolutely was. Bobby, any closing thoughts before I get us out of here?
Yeah, congratulations to James for the first win. Didn't realize that myself, but yeah, well deserved.
It was well deserved. And with that being said, guys, we do have a couple more things coming at you tonight, actually. Well, today, I apologize, or tonight, or tomorrow, wherever you guys are in the world. Today at 3:45 p.m. Eastern Time here in about 2 hours, exactly 2 hours, we're headed to Lebanon. Spec Racer Ford. Bobby, it sounds like you might be in that one. So going to be super excited to see exactly what those Spec Racer Fords can do there. And Randall, I've never actually run or even heard of Lebanon, so it's going to be a new experience. Well, do you know anything about that, sir?
There's a really tricky triple left-hander on that corner that might catch some drivers out.
Awesome.
I
Looking
think-
forward. Looking forward to that. It's gonna be me and Randall in the booth again, and then tonight Tim Cox is gonna be with you for XSLR Cross Series League Racing. We are running the asphalt street stocks at Bristol, guys. So gear up for that one. Should be a good showing. And then next Sunday, we're back here in the Formula Ford, also again at Lebanon. But until then, guys, my name has been Adam Thompson, and joined in the booth by Randall McGrew with special guest Bobby West. Take it easy. We'll see you guys in an hour.
I see a Budweiser. Go ahead and hold it up.
Yes. There's
That was
our
the
Budweiser.
biggest clue.
Yes, right
Doing
there.
it for Dale.
Man, it's so many gimmicks, right? I feel like they're making it a lot more complicated than it needs to be. I mean, a lot of people, you get polarizing opinions on DRS.
I know you guys know exactly what I'm talking about here, but sometimes the effort, it's all about the boys. You know, like, hey, you
It
know,
is.
life sucks sometimes, and we need
Yes.
the boys.
iRacing kind of always has a tendency to kind of buff
Yes.
the new cars just a little bit. I'm not going to go on record saying it's because they want people to spend money on their platform and buy all the new
Conspiracy
content.
confirmed.
But
Yes.
but